Hi, it's your girl Lola Lovely, and welcome to The Love Frequency. This episode is entitled Soft is Strong. This is a love note for those of you that are tired of having to put the armor on, tired of armoring up, tired of having to be the stronger person. This is a love note to you specifically to say, hey, I see you, I honor you, I cherish you, and I know what you're feeling. So let's just get right into the podcast. I did take some notes about this because it's been something that I've been formulating in my mind. I have experienced in my own life trying to express myself and being upset in that time of trying to express myself, and it'd be taken wrong, and I'd be taken as an angry black woman, or I've been taken as being aggressive or being obnoxious or being too loud because I'm simply trying to express myself. And I've seen in the past where I could have done a better job in how I express myself, even though I was emotional at the time. I also beat myself up about the process of not expressing myself correctly at the time and how I might have been a little bit over the top in expression, or I could have been justifiable but still felt guilty about it. And I feel like that there's this energy that exists around, and I'm going to say all women, not just black women. I'm going to just generalize this for a minute, around all women and how we express ourselves. And how we were taught not to really express ourselves as children, as women. We were taught to be docile, to be soft, to be quiet, to be supportive, to be mindful, to maintain, to motivate, but then to do that in a way that didn't look aggressive, it didn't look smart, like you're being a smart ass. It couldn't look in any of those ways. So for me, I feel like in this space of soft is strong, it's caused me to, I want to say transmute, but also initially prior to transmuting this soft is strong and strong is soft thing, I struggled with being able to state my truth without feeling as though the story in my head was telling me that, one, I would be ignored, or I would be shamed, or I would be seen as a troublemaker or seen as someone who is rocking the boat too much. So it's an interesting place to be in for women, especially for women of color, when we try to simply express ourselves and we are just passionate about expressing ourselves, that it gets misconstrued from other people, from the rest of the world. I know for me, I feel like I'm always misunderstood. However, I've been working on that affirmation and how my mind is processing that so that I can be completely understood. Instead of misunderstood, I'm reframing to I am completely understood. Whether you like what I say or agree with what I'm saying is irrelevant, but I am completely understood. So I feel like it's a big, I don't want to say the word issue, but I feel like that this is something that I know I've experienced in this decade of living, half a decade, 50 years of living, that I have experienced not being able to be strong when I needed to, and how to transmute that strength into this divine feminine, this divine softness, and still be able to protect myself and to stand up for myself and to champion myself without it being seen as something untoward. And that's the best word I can use, untoward. Let me go to my notes real quick. So I touched on that society teaches women to be soft, and for us to also, on the other side of that, it tells us that we have to toughen up, we have to, be strong, we have to, pick our boots up and move on, and that, we're taking too long to process things, and so we have this mixed message that's going on, and that's a lie that we have to really unlearn. And the other lie that we have to unlearn, and I personally am a victim to this, is softness is seen as weakness. especially in high pressure and high performing environments. We're talking about work. We're talking about in that time frame where we're at work and things are very stressful. For me, I'm going to speak to this as for women of color, where we cannot, in any way, shape, or form, get upset in a way that would look like we're being aggressive, because it will be misconstrued. It's already done. Like, security will get called if I start to cry at work. It has happened to me. If I raise my voice or I say I want to be heard or I've interrupted someone, it has happened. In a working relationship where they had to call some of the male employees because they wanted to tell me something. And I was like, why is everybody in this office if you and I are having this conversation? And simply the manager said, I wanted to make sure that we could be all right. And I said, being all right wouldn't imply that you would need to bring the maintenance manager and then another, manager, male manager, to tell me something about my job and my actions. Even if you're letting me go, it doesn't require you to call security because you feel like I'm going to be aggressive, And I feel that there's this idea that we have that's it's throughout every culture. Every culture sees specifically Black women from America in a specific way. We're seen as aggressive. We're seen as loud, obnoxious. There's this. It's just like this social confine that exists for women of color. I've experienced it in my 50 years. Has it gotten better in the last 10 years? No, not really. But there's more ways to shine on it now. And I don't know if that more ways to shine on it now is even helpful. In my experience, I mean, yeah, I guess it is better. But there's that's a whole nother podcast, so I don't want to get into it. So yes, there has been some improvement, but still I can't get really angry anywhere, and I know it. Now, does that mean that somebody, if I'm at work, we'll use work as a suggestion, and I'm being corrected, and I'm not being corrected in the same way that my coworkers be corrected. I've had that in my last job. My coworkers got preferential treatment. They were not women of color, and I was a woman of color. They got to transition in different ways from the company, whereas when they removed my location, they didn't offer me the same transition that they offered the other ladies in the company. They were not women of color, so they were able to stay with the company in a online space, and I was not. I was just transitioned off. And I believe that to be a portion of the fact that they thought, number one, she's a woman of color, and we don't want to have to put in the extra time or work to actually make sure that her needs are being met, and we're going to end her contract, even though everyone else's contract, when their locations closed, they went digitally. That didn't extend to me. So that for me to receive that was another meeting of more than one person, so that they could navigate if I was going to get angry about it. And I was more hurt than angry, and there was nothing that I can do. That was a decision they made, the wrong decision, but the decision nevertheless. And so now I'm here making podcasts, so that's even better. So I think that there's this, the true strength is found in the freedom to feel as though you can move into your divine feminine and be still strong and protected. That is the true strength. And, soft is the new strong. It's a really big thing for me. It's like, how can I soften myself to receive messages from people? How can I soften myself to give messages to people? How can I soften myself so that the message that I'm actually giving to you is nurturing, is loving, is kind instead of right, is there to assist you in this transition that you're making from not knowing yourself to knowing yourself. So how can I be of assistance in that? And that has been my trajectory in stepping into the soft is strong. Plus, I like being in the divine feminine. And I just want to give a little history I probably ran in my 20s very high masculine. I'm a mother, a single mom of two boys. I had them young. I got married young and divorced young the first time around. So as a single mom, so I was doing a lot of boy things and a lot of high energy things, and I had to also be the controlling parent in the house as well as the nurturing parent. So I'll be honest with you, for me, it was easier to be the controlling, harder parent, to run in that masculine energy where this is what it was going to be and there was nothing else, because it made it easier for me to get through to my boys. Yes, I loved them and I nurtured them, but it made the system that we were living in easier to live in. So fast forward now, when I met my second husband, I was still running high in this yang energy, male, masculine energy. And he was the first man to say to me that I don't want the masculine energy. He said, I want I want you to be a woman. Stop trying to be in control and be a man. It is time for you to step back and be a woman. Now, for me, that was a wonderful process because that gave me the freedom to actually really fall back into the divine feminine and fall in love with being that girly girl, that woman that wants to be soft and gentle and loving. So that was a wonderful thing. So during that time, I think for me, the strength was falling into the divine feminine, but still being able to balance my no's with my yeses, to be able to show up. And I want to say the word give of myself in this feminine aspect. So falling into that divine softness helped me to be able to remove this armor of being hard, of being in the divine masculine. It helped me to be able to feel both of those energies and figure out how I want to integrate, I want to align both of those energies so they become one space where soft is strong, where strong is soft, where you're marrying these two abilities to be in control, to be assertive, to be cunning, to be intellectual, and also managing to be able to be heartfelt and emotionally invested and attuned to the needs of others, and to also be in a space where you're constantly moving this information and being able to bring it in and then send it back out in the correct way. So I feel for me that soft being strong has really been the epitome of my last, I want to say 6 months. I've been surviving separation, going through a divorce, and the last 6 months I've been in my own place. And I realized that there was a lot of fear coming into taking care of myself and managing my own life and managing my own home. There's a lot of fear. Not that I couldn't do it. I had done it many times before with children, working full time and going to college full time at one point. And thank God for my mother. She did help. So she was there. I did have support. So I had a support system. But, going into that space and saying, okay, now I'm by myself. How can I take this beautiful divine feminine and pull some of that divine masculine back into the mix so we can bring in a more balanced and symbiotic relationship between the two sides, so that I don't come off as an angry black woman, you know what I'm saying? So I don't come off as this stereotypical angry black woman who's angry all the time or she's aggressive, because that's high masculine, running high in the masculine side. Now, I want to bring that high masculine side into meet because I for the last 10 years with my husband, I was high feminine side. It wasn't a lot of like being this, he made the decisions. I know a lot of people might come at my throat for this, but if you do, hey, that's fine. In my marriage, he was the head of my marriage, and I love that. That is something I particularly care for. I like traditional roles. That is my thing. Not for everyone. So he was in control of the marriage. He was the head of the relationship, and therefore I didn't have to do a lot of critical. I mean, I did a ton of critical thinking, but I didn't have to do a lot of the working parts were his responsibility on the trajectory of what we were doing as a family, was his responsibility to come up with, and I supported that. And it wasn't like I'm saying to you that there was none of my input was put into it. No, it was, but he was the deciding factor. So he ran the high masculine and I ran the high feminine. And I love doing it. And now it's like part of me is like, oh my God, I have to take out trash, but that's another podcast. So going back to the angry black woman stigma, and I feel like that this is a cultural stereotype that is really ingrained in what we are experiencing in the right now. And it's interesting to be labeled angry and too much, because I hear that often. Oh, black women are too much to deal with. They're angry. They're frustrated. And there's something twisted in that idea of thinking. There's something not completely balanced in the way that society is seeing us and how they are approaching us and how they are championing us. Ooh, I hope I said that word. Championing us. And I'm going to say that because of that, as a result of how people see us, it hardens us even more. It makes us even more lean into this divine masculine and makes us even angrier and harder. And it makes it harder for us to actually express ourselves in a way that feels loving, that feels wonderful, that feels joyful. So for me, I've been really watching that process for myself. And then I've been saying to myself, am I expressing myself in what is considered my divine masculine or my divine feminine? And if I am expressing myself and it's coming from a place of, and I'm not going to say because just anger is divine masculine, but if it's coming from a place of discord or anger, how is it affecting my archetypes? How is it affecting my inner landscape? What is it that I can do to fix it? How can I pivot from that? How can I stop that? And how can I bring myself back on when necessary? How do I bring myself back into this right now moment so that so I can integrate or ignite the divine feminine to nurture my inner self, my inner landscape, my inner person, So I just want to give you some of what real soft strength looks like. It looks like crying without apology. It looks like letting your no be soft but assertive. It looks like laughing freely and resting often. That's number 1. Number 3 and 4. And then resting without guilt and leading from your heart. And real soft strength looks like, and this is a big one, expressing anger with clarity and not with shame. Expressing anger with clarity and not with shame. And a lot of us will get angry at someone because we feel bad or shameful of the situation. And so we bite back for the situation and the shame of it. So it's important for us to really dive deeper into ourselves when we are trying to bring this softness out. And when we get caught in a place of discord, of anger, of frustration, of shame, this is where we can dial back in to being clear about what we're trying to say, the message that we're trying to share, and being really intentional on what we're sharing and how we're sharing it. And by being intentional, we bring forward this space where we are in the soft space, where we are in our divine feminine, where we haven't pivoted out of the divine feminine, like, well, fuck that, rah, and no rah-rah, pretty much. So, in conclusion, coming home to yourself is the biggest thing that you can do when it gets to this place for you to really integrate soft being the new hard. Soft is hard. Softness is not the opposite of power. It's the form of power that heals. So when you decide to integrate this softness, understand that you're taking on a superpower and you're utilizing that softness, that nurturing, that space that you can create. You're utilizing it to move mountains in people. Because Everyone has heard the old adage: you can get more flies with honey than you do vinegar. And softness is the honey. It's the thing that sweetens up the pot. It's the thing that brings home people. And your heart is your home. Your softness is home. So you want to bring people in with the softness. You want to put more honey down. You want to put them in a sweet jar in your heart. That's what you want to do. So in closing, again, I want to say that this episode is a love note for the part of yourself that no longer wants to hide under the armor of being strong. For that part of yourself that wants to be seen, heard, understood, and recognized for the divine, beautiful, feminine that you are. The divine feminine energy that you are, the feeling of this beautiful, joyful energy. This episode is a love note to the part of you that is tired of armoring up. You don't have to be hard to be taken seriously. You don't have to hide your emotions to be respected. Soft is sacred. Soft is strong. And soft is yours if you step into that energy. So thank you so much for joining me, lovelies. Remember, stay in the love frequency. I'll see you next week. Bye.